is TOFOP. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson. Hello, and thank you for watching.
And if you listen to last week's episode, you'll know that Will and I have decided the direction we're taking this show in.
Biscuits.
So we, in the break between recording episodes,
TOFOP.
We borrowed a listener pass, took ourselves out into the street, walked all the way up,
walked up to the local Coles, went into the biscuit aisle,
looked at all the biscuits, and so we've made two selections, but we're going to spread them out over the next two episodes. We're going to start. So we went traditional, something that kind of we're familiar with, and then we went for a biscuit we haven't tried,
a manufactured take on a Australian, a classic, and then the absolute opposite end. Yeah.
So we're going to start with Pat and Sticks, fresh baked, traditional Anzac biscuits.
Now, Pat and Sticks, do you know much about Pat and Sticks?
They make the ice cream sandwiches.
Yeah, the ice cream sandwiches.
Which are really good.
So I've only ever tasted these biscuits
in ice cream form.
So how do you feel like, just before we get into the actual biscuit itself, how do you
Strap
feel?
yourselves in, listeners.
How do you feel about having previously tasted a Pat and Sticks ice cream sandwich, which are delicious?
Never really noticed the biscuit.
Yeah, so you never were like, the best bit of this is the biscuit.
I think ice cream sandwiches are overrated.
Okay.
For a start, I don't think it's the best.
Explain why.
Because I feel like you are getting the worst of both worlds. Ice cream is delicious and creamy, and biscuits are lovely and crunchy and sweet. But when you mix them together, the ice cream tends to be sort of like bricky and hard, and then the biscuit tends to be soggy.
There's nothing worse than a soggy biscuit. So what I would say is I go to this, on the way to the ABC in Sydney, I go to this little kind of hip Japanese, I'm going to say, but maybe not, but certainly kind of modern Asian influenced hip sort of cookie cafe where they have the big,
Why do you say maybe not?
Well, I mean, it's not branded as being, that's the gist I get, is like, to me, I associate this kind of like,
as an old man, everything young is hip, right?
Well, no, I feel like Japan's very hip at the moment.
Yeah.
And it feels like a lot of cuisine and that sort of modern-facing dessert culture is influenced by Japan. But I also know there are other Asian countries that also kind of love that culture. So I don't want to, I was just trying to
cover your bases
a little, right?
I think it's cool, but I'm scared.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's how you feel about Muji.
Yeah.
I feel about this place that I go for these biscuits. So they have, out the front, they'll have a tray of 5 specialist, delicacy, big biscuits, right? You can get them, you can just get them in a little paper sleeve like that, or you can get them with a soft serve ice cream. So one comes with a vanilla soft serve thing, and then there's a matcha green tea, soft serve.
So you, can I ask, because I walk past those places all the time and I'm scared.
Yeah. You think they're cool, but you're
just not sure. Just not sure. But so they're dessert cafes. So you are specifically going there to enjoy your bubble tea or whatever it is, or your matcha tea.
This one's in a bubble tea district.
Okay.
It's surrounded by shops that are dessert cafes. This one is just it's like a shop front. So there's no dine-in. It's got a little outside. There's a few benches and stuff where essentially people will sit and wait and maybe have their thing. Yeah. But it's more for to walk out into Darling Harbour and
to have a walk around with your dessert.
Yeah, exactly.
Like an ice cream shop.
Because there's a gelato Messina down there. There's a cartouche. There's a whole bunch of, and then there's a lot of Asian inspired dessert places.
Cartouche is also the sound you make when you go to the bathroom after eating one of those desserts. Cartouche. Oh, thank God.
Where did you come up with the inspiration for the name of this company? So this one is just a little storefront sort of alleyway. It's next to a Marrickville pork roll banh mi sort of place. It's doing a similar sort of outer window, long lines at lunchtime. Yeah. And the biscuit place, very hip, always, big lines of people, and this, so eating these sort of bowls that is the hot cookie and the soft serve served together.
Great.
So they'll heat the cookie up in their little cookie oven they have for you.
I love it.
And so I'll just do the big cookie heated up. I have never done the cookie soft serve combo because
but that's the point of it, though, isn't it?
Well, the cookies are enough by themselves.
Okay.
The reason I brought this up in the first place was that the cookie sandwich.
Yeah.
To me, this is just a deconstructed cookie sandwich. I don't need them both together. This cookie is enough for me.
I think that's awesome.
I don't need to introduce I don't need to open this relationship I'm having with. I don't need to go poly with this cookie.
I
and
think
introduce some soft serve.
well, maybe you will though. Maybe after
I'll get
6
bored.
months you'll get
Yeah.
bored and you want to like
add something in.
bring a third
Yeah.
into the relationship. I mean, I think maybe
So your
mentioned
friend soft
before.
serve is hanging around a lot of times.
Hey, me and my biscuit have been watching you. We really dig your vibe. We think you go well in a sandwich between us. Oh no, it doesn't work that way. I tried an Anzac biscuit with ice cream, and it was like a crispy Anzac biscuit with ice cream, and it
And?
was really good.
Yeah, I think that would be nice because those flavors seem like they'd be nice together.
Yeah, because your Anzac is a good base level, generic sweet cookie because it doesn't taste like a specific flavor.
And most of them were white vanilla.
Okay, so are we cracking the pack?
Yeah, let's crack the pack.
All right.
It's time to crack the pack.
Oh yeah, that can be our
Yeah,
that can be our
catchphrase.
catchphrase.
All right.
Okay. So initially,
Yeah.
concerns
So, okay, you want to go with concerns straight away?
straight away. It's too firm.
Too firm.
Yeah, because we've talked about this. Crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. Is the
Yeah,
perfect
but these are
Anzac.
smaller than your usual Anzac biscuits. Or are they? Because I associate an Anzac
It's
with
way too
being
small.
twice or 3 times this size,
Yeah.
traditionally.
Yeah. Cheers.
But cheers to the Anzacs. So lest we forget. So here's what I'm going to say about this though, is I think for what this is what this comes from, its origin story, which is that traditionally their biscuits are made to be vehicles for like serving ice cream.
So patent.
Patent
I thought you were
sticks.
talking about traditional Anzac biscuits.
No, I'm talking about patent
You
sticks
meant to eat
now.
these in a trench, Will. Don't you
Yeah.
understand?
I mean, would these be trench? I mean, those big ones would be no good in a trench. These are more
Yeah.
like if you are actually an Anzac who wanted an Anzac biscuit for some like fuel during the day, you can't be walking around with one of those giant
bakery Anzac
hot
biscuits.
cookies.
Yeah, I
You
guess
know?
not. Yeah, you're right. This fits more
Yeah.
into your kit, right? Your
Yeah.
your backpack, your army kit.
One Anzac per day. You know, that's kind of like
Yeah.
what each
You're
soldier
sitting in a
gets.
muddy trench
Yeah.
with your best mate.
But you know what?
rolling
you have
cigarettes.
having a Billy tea.
That's
and
right.
An Anzac
and an
biscuit.
Anzac. Listening to John
Yeah.
Williamson, even though he
wasn't-
wouldn't release music for 60 years. All right, here we
All
go.
right. Okay, you go first. Oh, I mean it does sound very crunchy from what you've done.
Very crunchy.
Too crunchy? How do you
I think so.
People don't really like when we're talking, but it's okay.
I'm eating off my.
Yeah. Okay. So
Okay. Initial thoughts.
yeah, initial thoughts.
Too crunchy. Tastes more like a butternut snap.
I mean, it looks like a butternut snap.
And it's, you get that chewiness with an Anzac
Yeah.
from the coconut. It's a chewy, but it's an unpleasant chewiness.
Oh,
Yeah, it's kind of like more arduous to work through than just the nice kind of texture of coconut
I mean,
coconut.
how snappy it sounded when you bought it scares me a little because I've got like a bridge on my
Oh yeah,
front
well
teeth. I'm like,
don't eat it.
I'm have to go in sideways.
Okay. Can we zoom in on this? You're right. It sounds horrible. Will's taken a very delicate bite. I sort of went all in, but Will's taken, and he's sitting way back off mic now. He's got his arms. He's casting his eyes to the sky. He's really contemplating the flavour. He's rolling around on his tongue, like a wine connoisseur.
So far, I'm okay with it. There's like
It's nothing remarkable though.
no, but there's like you know what? Like it is a little like an Anzac biscuit and a butternut snap got together, and I don't mind that. There's like a caramelly, golden syrupy like taste underneath it that is like I quite like. I don't
How
have my
would you rate
glasses
it?
on,
If
so I
you had a
can't.
cup of tea to dip it in, would that change the experience of the biscuit?
I think it might, but I don't find anything about this. The flavour I find unremarkable, and the actual texture, and I'm not enjoying eating it. It's like I feel like this might pull a molar out. It's like it's too sticky, and the coconut bits are too tough to get through. I'm not enjoying it.
I mean, because it's not desiccated coconut, right? It's like actually
Or desecrated coconut, as me and my
lest we forget.
yeah, me and my
That's right. When you make a proper Anzac with this.
my Church of Satan friends, we like to have That's so stupid. Desecrated coconut. I would not buy these again. In fact, this feels like the kind of biscuit you get like when you go to your car dealership and you're getting your car serviced or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, you can help yourself to the coffee and biscuits." That's what I would expect. That's the level of biscuit that Patton. Hey, Patton sticks. You can stick this biscuit right up your ass. That's what I'm saying.
All right, we can forget that sponsorship then.
I am not as harsh on the Patton Sticks Anzac as you are. I've got to be honest with you. I like the crispiness. I like, it does have that quality of, getting your car serviced. But I've got to say, to me, like, I think one of the roles of the biscuit is to evoke memories of time and space. And it's evoked a memory of time and space to you, right? Which is like, and I reckon getting a free biscuit while you're getting your car service isn't an unpleasant memory. Like, to me, that's like, I quite like when I stumble upon an unexpected biscuit. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're suddenly in a situation where you didn't realize they were going to supply biscuits and there's suddenly biscuits available. Like, I'm like, oh, well, this is a win. Like, whatever I expected I was going to be doing during this period of time when my car was being serviced, I didn't realize that it was going to involve free biscuits. So
Gemma tells this story all the time about when we were making this music video and we're in the edit suite. And so generally, because I was the producer, I'd sit up the back and be doing all the admin stuff, and Jem would be sitting with the editor cutting the video. And this one post house had an amazing selection of biscuits that they would put in this jar on the couch where I was sitting. And so I'd be sitting there on my laptop and I'd just be reaching over and like eating biscuits like while the guys were working. And at one point, like I was like, I've really got to stop eating all these biscuits, but I'm going to have one more. Because I'd eaten so many biscuits, the biscuits were right down in the bottom of the jar. And so I was trying to be discreet because Gemma and the editor were talking and trying to work out, what shot selections and stuff. And so I was leaning over and I had my hand in the glass jar, and the glass jar was also on a glass table. And I got the biscuit right at the bottom of the jar, but then I couldn't quite, the angle was on, I couldn't quite leverage to get my arm up. So I'm rattling around.
you got yourself a Pooh Bear situation.
It was a Winnie the Pooh situation. Like, after a while, they just stopped and they turned and they saw me, like, literally got red-handed with my hand in the cookie jar. And, like, if I had just, all I had to do, Will, was let go of the biscuit and pull my hand back
This
out.
is Homer Simpson and the vending machine. That's what you've done.
Yeah.
So in a lot of American hotels, upon checking in, they will provide you a hot cookie, like a fresh
Ooh,
hot cookie.
I like that.
Yeah. And they will often have them if it's a busy time, it's standard check-in time. They might have, instead of just individually doing it, they'll just have a display of them on the counter. And after a while, I got very good at immediately taking one, like at the start of the procedure when you're giving your details, credit card, phone number, all that sort of stuff, and then taking another one at the end.
Oh,
Yeah.
double dipping.
Double dipping.
Double dipping the chocolate chipping.
Yeah.
What do you think about yogurt dipped cookies?
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, you yogurt cover it, like yogurt.
It's like half the biscuit.
Hard yogurt, not
No, that sounds
not
gross.
just dipping a
But that what is?
biscuit
But
in
that yogurt icing though.
Yeah.
You're
What is
right.
it?
Is it really
I
yogurt?
don't know, but I don't think it's yogurt.
It's just icing, right? With a bit of sour flavoring or something. Because I always get excited when I see yogurt. I like yogurt flavored icing, but then I just never really thought about it. It's almost like white chocolate with a bit of yogurt flavor, isn't it?
Yeah. Whatever that is, I like that.
Yeah. Because you get like those muesli bars where you think, oh, this is healthy.
I mean, this tastes a bit like a fancy muesli bar as well. Like, this feels like, tastes a bit like the muesli bar that you might get on a plane. You know, like if they have like a specialist muesli bar or something, it has these flavors to it, is what I'm saying.
It's like McDonald's make hamburgers, sure. But if you get like a freshly made like gourmet hamburger from like a really good place, that's going to taste. And that's the difference between an Anzac biscuit from a bakery and then these ones. Is it's like it's prepackaged. They're too hard because they've obviously got to account for the fact they're going to be sitting on a shelf for a long time. And so I just don't know that. I don't think that's. But I guess ironically, that is probably the Anzac biscuits that the Anzacs would have eaten, right? More like they would have tasted more like that. So I'm just being unpatriotic. In fact, love it or leave it, Charlie. That's what I'm saying to me.
Kids, you were saying that people think that kids are too soft these days.
I'm
But
too
it's
soft.
because they've been raised on soft Anzac biscuits, right? Like they weren't raised on the traditional hard Anzacs that the Anzacs were raised on.
I remember my mum also, like, she was born just after. Oh no, she was born while the war was still going, but she was a kid just after the Second World War, and she would always talk about how fruit was a treat back then. Like, if you get like an apple or a banana, and if you read those like Ginger Meg's comic books of that era, the kids are like getting into like hijinks because they want to get a banana or an apple or something like that. It's like, what a horrible time when a treat for a kid was fruit.
Well, here's what I'm interested in about these. These feel like the sort of things someone who didn't want to get their kid a full treat would get them, if you know what I mean. Like they're real in between. They're like not the cheapest. They don't taste cheap. They taste a little bit fancy.
A little bit.
But just a little bit.
But that's not. I mean, what parent is buying that for their kid thinking this is not a treat? Because it's still just packed with sugar and butter and all that kind of stuff.
It's brown.
And that's the difference. There's no chocolate on it.
Well, I guess chocolate's brown.
Of all the profound statements on the show, I guess chocolate's brown is possibly the best, the most profound thing you've ever said on this show.
All right. Well, that was good, though. I think that's a good segment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What biscuits are we going to eat? What do we call the segment?
I don't know.
I like
Biscuits. Cracking the pack?
Cracking the pack.
Yeah, crack the pack.
I mean, we won't always be
We won't always be cracking the pack. And other times we might be going to getting a bespoke. It might be opening the bag, getting a biscuit in a bag or cracking the pack. Bicky in a bag, crack the pack. They're the two categories, right?
I'm happy to get listener suggestions as well.
Yeah.
If people have an idea for what we should call this segment, where we
Biscuit.
eat and rate. What I've noticed so far is I'm a little kinder to the cookies.
Yeah.
Charlie has come in strong.
What about-
with some very big, like cane corns energy?
Can I suggest we call the segment Simp Biscuit?
Simp biscuit?
Because we're biscuit simps. Simp Biscuit.
Yeah. I mean, do you think referencing a band that was popular 30 years ago with another term that we can't use in a search is really the direction we want to go in?
I thought that was
'Cause
clever.
I mean, it's clever,
Simp Biscuit.
but we've been too
We
clever
simp
for our
biscuits.
own good.
Simp Biscuit.
Simp biscuit. Okay, look, you know what?
That's
You know what?
It's on the board.
It's on the board.
So
We have a
listeners,
leader.
Suggest what we call
Yes.
the segment. Crack a pack, Bicky in a bag, Simp Biscuit. Amy, is anything off the top of your head?
Nothing off the top of my head. Sorry, my performing arts high school
She's
skills
just-
are really
she's
betraying me here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hang on.
Making
What?
the biscuit.
Hang on. Sorry. Let's not skip. You went to a performing arts high school.
I did.
Is it like Fame or High School Musical? Were you guys just like
Yeah,
singing
exactly
show
like
tunes and
that.
doing group choreo all the time? Like lunch breaks are just like shooby dooby doo wah, shooby dooby doo wah wah.
Have you
That's
ever
not
seen the
really
cast of? Have you seen the cast of Glee do "Push It" by Salt and Pepper?
I don't think I have.
It is literally one of the worst things you will ever see in your entire life. And,
I have seen the cast of Glee doing Teenage Dream, Katy Perry's Teenage Dream.
well, Salt and Pepper.
And I thought that was the worst.
Push
thing
It
I've
by
ever
Salt and
seen.
Pepper is one of the greatest songs of all time, and it's just one of those songs. I have it on my pre-show playlist. I have had for 15 years, I reckon. It's the one song that never gets rotated out because it's just a great track. And the scene in Glee
Oh God.
is the one that's meant to convince. It's the first time I think the footy player goes and sings with the Glee Club, and the Glee Club are kind of auditioning to the school that they need more support. Or what? Yeah, it's the big moment where everyone who's in the audience is meant to watch this performance of this new way to do Glee. You know, it's a bit sexy. It's Push It, Salt and Pepper, blah blah
Oh,
blah.
yeah.
And so it's the big moment. And if you got showed it out of context, if you didn't know that was the big moment in the show, and you just stopped it right before the end and said, what are we meant to be feeling now? Is this meant to be triumphant or terrible, or is this like a disaster? You don't. It's like one of those great things where then there's a bit at the end where the nerd jumps up and claps, and then everyone joins in and cheers and claps, and that was amazing. You've convinced us all, sort of thing. There is no way it would have convinced anyone. It's like the bland. It needed salt or pepper because it is the blandest performance of anything You've got to see it.
But isn't they don't? There's no singing in Push It. It's all rap.
Oh no,
I didn't know they
mean,
rapped on Glee. I thought it was all like.
Oh no, they
singing.
loved a bit of a rap.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, raps
Jane Lynch
and
did
songs.
Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I missed that. I met the guy, the teacher from Glee,
Oh my god, really?
The lead.
the lead guy.
Oh, hang on, Amy's pretty excited about this.
Yeah, yeah.
Apparently,
He's
Glee
like
was big
the
at the Performing
internet's
Arts High
enemy.
School. Oh,
Oh,
really?
really?
Well,
'Cause-
not the real guy, like the character.
Yeah.
Oh, because I know there was some there's that guy who passed away, and then the jock who didn't he was for sexual assault? He went to jail or something. So there's some
Yeah,
darkness.
there's some darkness
behind-
on that show.
But I think
in the
Leah
Glee
Michelle's
I
meant
think
to
3
be
of the cast members
universally
have died.
delightful. Oh,
No, I don't
Jesus
think that's
Christ.
right. I think Leah Michelle came out and said something terrible.
No,
Didn't she
she's
get
fine.
cancelled?
She's absolutely fine, and everybody loves her.
And she can
And everyone's
definitely
always said
read.
nice things about her. Like,
what happened?
definitely.
What was it? I can't remember.
Oh,
What did
she said apparently
A bunch
she's-
of horrible
Yeah,
things?
people don't love her.
Okay.
People don't love her.
No, but that guy, because Jane Lynch, I met her, and they were out promoting the
I've
show.
met Jane Lynch. She was delightful.
Yeah, they were promoting the show, and so they were Channel 10's guests, and it was in the 2009 prelim, Bulldogs and the Saints, and so I think Limo was there as well, or maybe even Limo got me the ticket. I don't know. We're sitting at the same table, and she was great, Jane, but he less so. Like he didn't want to be there. Was obviously forced to sit through the entire game, which was a classic. Went down to the wire, right to the final seconds of the game. And Jane Lynch was she was asking questions
Yeah.
and cheering and stuff, but he could not have been more disgruntled or annoyed and like, when can I get out of here? And I was like, gee, man, like for a show called Glee, you're showing very little Glee at the moment.
It was very funny. So Jane Lynch, I was doing a gala in Montreal at the Just for Laughs festival that she was hosting. But when I was living in LA, I ran into her. Like we were talking about the local supermarket across the road from where I used to live. It was literally down there on that road. She was crossing probably to go to that supermarket, and I ran into her. And it was a few weeks before the festival. And it was such a weird interaction because I kind of was like, oh, hey, like Jane. And because, of course, she would have immediately gone, oh, well, this is just a fan of, mine or Glee or whatever. And so I think probably too quickly, was like, we're doing a gig together next week that kind of took her a moment to kind of get her head around what the fuck it was this Australia was talking to her about. And she was absolutely delightful. And then got to actually meet her properly a few weeks later. And then we had a little funny story we could relate. It was fine.
What is she doing now? She's awesome. Does she?
She's
she's in stuff. She must still be in
yeah,
stuff.
she'd be in heaps of stuff,
Jane
I
Lynch, she's
imagine.
in
She'd be in
OnlyFans
whatever she wants to be.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
she is too. She actually. Have you
She's
watched that?
fabulous.
I've watched the first 2 episodes, but I can't watch anything. I don't have a TV at the
It's
moment.
really.
so-
It's neither of us have TVs. We're so hip. Look at us.
I'm not one of those guys I don't watch TV. I'd love to have a
I
TV.
wasn't,
It's just
but
half
I've
my
become
house
one.
is a building site.
I've nearly a year for me. It's been since August last year. I haven't had a TV, and Charlie,
Don't miss it.
you know what? I'm thinking about getting one because I haven't watched any footy, and we do a footy podcast, and so I think I probably should watch some at some stage. But otherwise, I've got so out of the habit because I think at the same time that the world, it stopped being necessary to be able to talk to anyone about anything common. That was a skill that for most of my life, there was this kind of idea that if you watched the news or kept up with what was going on, you needed that to have chats with other people. It was the social...
It's the water cooler.
Right.
Yeah.
But then we threw away the water cooler.
Yeah.
And we said, let's not
Everyone gets their own individual cups now.
Right, exactly.
There's
Tiny
no
little
communal
sippy cups.
hydration.
No, none at all.
I miss the TV because I mainly for sport.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I do like going and watching it. I don't like it's harder to get into the game watching it on my iPad.
Yes.
But all I watch at the moment are 15 to 20-minute documentaries about wrestling. That is all I have the mental capacity for, and it's. I think that YouTube is broken my attention span because now it's when things go for longer than half an hour, I'm like, oh my God, I can't invest that kind of time. But I've been now the algorithm is hey, do you want to? Here's a wrestler you've never heard of. Do you want to hear what's happened to him now? I'm like, certainly, why not? But the WWE have just released this 1-hour documentary all about the last WrestleMania where The Rock turned heel. And do you know about this? Have you seen the memes and stuff? So it's a it's a kind of like an ESPN style retrospective on, this WrestleMania and this massive
But
pivot.
done seriously.
Done seriously, yeah. So they're interviewing The Rock and Paul Levesque, Triple H, who's like now running the WWE, and all the key players. But it's interesting, right? Because we've been sort of talking about The Rock and what's going on, and it feels like the backlash is starting. And this documentary was clearly released as part of his image rehab. And once again, it's backfired. Like the reaction has been like, because in it, so what happened in WrestleMania 40 is that for a year leading up to WrestleMania, they were pushing Cody Rhodes. He was going to be the next champion. He was going to be taking on Roman Reigns, and that was going to be his story, to finally win the championship. And then The Rock joins the board of the WWE. This is in real life. The Rock joins the board of the WWE and inserts himself into the main event at WrestleMania. And so they change the main event. They pull Cody out and they put The Rock in, but then the fans react. So they quickly pivot and then they turn The Rock into a heel and it all works out. So that's been acknowledged. That's how we understand it all worked. But you watch this documentary and The Rock's rewriting history. Now the way he's talking about it is, oh no, we knew exactly what was going to happen. Yes, there was a gap in my schedule in which I always wanted to get back into, get in the ring. This was the perfect opportunity. Everyone wanted me and Roman Reigns to take each other on. But we understood that there would be, a backlash. So we engineered this performance. And so now it's become this meme where it's like, because The Rock's sitting there, doing the interview. So people have taken a screen grab of The Rock and it's like, of course, I realized that the world needed the wheel. So I invented the wheel, It's just like, he's doing himself such a disservice. That persona he's worked so long to create of being this kind of humble, like superstar, but relatable and hardworking and so engaged with his audience and everything I do is for the audience. He's losing a grip on it. Like it's strange. I don't know why it's not working, why the magic has broken, but people aren't just buying his shit anymore. Like it's really, really interesting.
Yeah,
to
but also I think he was too desperate for the comeback before he'd gone away. Do you mean like the fall? Like I think people were fine for The Rock to have a bit of a stumble because it had been pretty much universally up, and just not.
I mean, he needed a Tom Cruise break where you've jumped on the couch, just go away for a bit,
and
then
like it
reinvent.
felt like it felt like a panicked reinvention.
Yeah.
Straight off the back of a couple of movies.
In
went
footy
wrong, and,
parlance, it was a rebuild on the
Yeah.
run. Like
Yeah.
it's not like
and he kind of felt like he can do this. He can have this story of rebuild that I think a year from now, if he'd done a similar thing, it could have absolutely worked perfectly. But it just felt like if you hadn't been paying attention, you hadn't even noticed that he'd fallen off, let alone that he needed to come back,
Yeah.
And I just felt like it was too mixed. It just like people can sense the panic because as soon as it feels like one of the things that, I mean, of course, couldn't have been true about The Rock, but Ryan Reynolds does it very well, which is like kind of make it seem like you're not super ambitious. But The Rock's lost that. The curtain has been pulled aside. And we can see that, like...
No, that's always been part of his persona, don't you think?
But I think it always felt like it was like an underdog, like kind of, like it was...
Yeah, he's always
the
talking
Rock's
about his humble
success
beginnings.
was everybody's success.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I do it for you.
We were all on the journey. He was
That's
literally
right.
the people's champion, right?
that is what he kind of... Like, it's so interesting, because if they had not released this documentary, I think everyone would have been happy with it, because it was a really successful WrestleMania.
Well, that's right. It ended up, because without him wanting to claim credit for it, people got what they wanted, which was he got knocked on his ass a bit, but they saw him pivot in a really entertaining and lean into it way. And like I said, I think, you're right. Without the documentary, it probably does do the job, even with the rush timeline, not because of him coming back. If he'd just come back and now I win WrestleMania and I'm back, I don't think that would have been the story they needed.
Yeah.
They needed him to get knocked on his ass, but then to come in and go, but of course, when I got knocked on my ass, I don't actually lose fights.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
that's exactly what, and that's what people have been bringing up. It's that same clause he had in his contract of I don't lose.
I can't
fights.
let you see me lose.
So I mean, it's weird.
So even when I lose, it's got to be that I won by losing because I knew that I was going to lose. It was all part of my
Well, the way he frames it,
5D chess.
and you're right. And you're right. He does sort of try and lean back on that idea of I'm the people's champion. It's like, so I came back into the wrestling picture and I wanted to do it, but then the fans, they always tell you what you want. And number one is what, you do what the fans want. So I called everyone, I got everyone on a conference call and I said, this is the way we're going to do it. And look, maybe it did go down that way, but also it smacks of kind of PR, like you saying that. And even the way, it's hard to describe, but so when they're doing all the talking head interviews, it's really well shot and obviously, a slick production. But he's sitting there in this like satin shirt, like really expensive looking satin shirt, and he's got these specs on now. When was the last time? Can you think of a time you've ever seen The Rock wearing glasses? So I think it's a very deliberate image. Like he's trying to project this kind of more erudite, kind of intellectual. I'm The Rock. So he's got his wrestling persona, movie star persona, salesman persona, and now what you're seeing is board member persona or like auteur persona or something like that. Because he's so muscle bound. It's kind of like Beast in the X-Men. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of, it sort of doesn't gel on this kind of gigantic looking person, but he's put these little specs on. He's sitting there and he's like button up satin shirt. And like, and he's very articulate, and the way he sort of expresses himself. But because I was talking about with Chambo last night and another friend, and the other friend was saying, she's like, oh, I feel like, he keeps kind of like laughing off the presidential thing. And, he did that Joe Rogan interview where he talked about, I won't say what party came to me and stuff. But she's like, I think this is all still part of it. I think that is definitely his ambition. And that's why he's so desperate to rehab his image almost instantaneously, because he doesn't want any gaps in the mythology that he's been building for himself.
Yeah, but I wonder if there's a time to do that, then maybe it's now.
What do you mean, to run for president?
Just go.
Oh, fuck,
like,
yes.
You know what I mean? Like, just go all in. Don't, like, while you've still got 90% of your stake money, right? Like, your stacks dwindled a little, but you've still got enough on the table that you could go. I mean, you got a convicted felon and the world's oldest man running against each other.
Living
What
corpse.
if they did
Like,
a
it just
WWE
seems like
style
if-
tap out, and all of a sudden at the last second, Joe Biden
tag
taps
team.
out and The Rock taps in
Yes.
for the election.
Oh, at a debate.
Yeah.
If they did that at the debate. So they have the second
they're
debate.
both there.
Yeah.
Biden's about to speak, and then if you
yeah, he doesn't run. But then who does Trump tag? What if like the Undertaker comes in for Trump? Then we're in all kinds of trouble.
Well, what are the Undertaker's policies? Who are the?
Yeah, he's Republican.
He's a Republican. Is he
And
a
he's
MAGA
Texas-
Republican?
I mean, I'd assume so. He's done. The Undertaker did Joe Rogan's podcast, and they both talked about how like Texas is the best place on earth and California's a hellhole and stuff. So I think it wouldn't be hard to get him on side, but maybe
But maybe what people are looking for is a candidate that can, go in the mid. Like both of those sides are unpopular, right? But you need like a third party candidate. Does The Rock go in as a third party, announces that he's running as a third party in the election, not to replace Biden, but like literally, he's never kind of necessarily said which side of politics he's on. I imagine he's socially liberal, but probably a little economically conservative, right? Like he'll be for tax breaks for the rich, but also like care about being the people's champion. The people's champion enters the race in the same way as he entered the race at WrestleMania.
So you think he's a neocon? Like he's kind of conservative but modern. Like, he has progressive views on things like gay marriage and stuff like that.
But like, I mean, he's like a
conservative.
Silicon Valley will still continue to get all their tax breaks.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he's got something else to flog.
Yeah, right. But
Yeah.
I think that's what he is.
I mean, that makes the most sense because they're all talking about
Just do it now. If you want to do it now. There's never been a better time. But
he's just joined the board of the WWE, who I think have merged with the UFC. So that's like and he's got movies and stuff. Like, he can't possibly do both. Like that would be a lot of money on the table and all these different projects he's going if he's starting just if he's going to suddenly run for president.
I mean, he's got to run.
And you're not allowed to, right?
He's got to run for president for like 3 months. Like the
You
elections.
reckon he can get all that shit done in
That's
3
what
months?
I'm saying. Like, no, but I'm saying the elections in 3 months.
Right.
Like, that's fine. He can just like run for president. And if he becomes president, you just like all that stuff.
Executive order.
That's fine.
Every home has to like.
They literally just passed a Supreme Court judgment that basically the president
Can
is
do whatever
immune
he
from
wants.
whatever when he's president. So
Oh
The
my
Rock, imagine The Rock with
Oh my
full
God!
immunity.
Never loses a WrestleMania
Right,
again.
I mean, it's the ultimate doesn't lose the fight.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Like presidential immunity for The Rock. I mean, this is the time.
You're right.
Like, I mean, there is a gap. Like, people are so desperate for anyone other than the two options that they have been presented with.
why not put
Why
up
not
the
The
biggest
Rock?
movie star
The
in
People's
world?
Champion.
But wouldn't it be amazing, because there is such a backlash, if it doesn't work? Like, that would be the greatest rebuke. Is like, this is... Everyone's been saying all you need is just one normal candidate on either side of the political spectrum and they would win. Just gives a normal person. You bring in the biggest movie star and he doesn't win, he's fucking toast. It's a huge gamble.
I know, but
If he gets beaten by Trump...
when is it not a gamble to run for president? If he wants to be president, I'm not saying I'm not saying do it if you don't want to be president.
I'm
but I'm just saying
saying
if he wants to be president, you've got to take your shot when it's time that it's your shot. Otherwise, it's going to move on to the next generation. Like,
But I think there is less...
There might not be America left in 4 years' time.
There's less risky... Yeah, well, that's true. But if there is an America, there's less risk involved if it's not considered such a home run, because he has everything to lose if he inserts himself into this race.
No, because this is short and sharp. This is like one of those situations where people don't have time to like look at all they just want a different option, and you'd be presenting them with a different. It's like 3 months, 4 months until the election. This is like your perfect time.
And I guess he has like the resources.
Yeah.
And he's already got name recognition.
Yeah.
People know who he is. I mean, it's just would not be that surprising, would
No.
it? I mean,
He
they
could be
talk
one of
about
the
like
greatest
dropping Oprah into...
That's right. He could be one of the greatest. He announces Oprah as his running mate.
This sounds like a wrestling storyline.
Right.
Like it's
no more ridiculous than Trump being president as a convicted felon or an 81-year-old man running for president, right?
Yeah. Is he only... I thought he was like 90, Biden. He's only 81.
I mean, I think only is a very generous thing to put at the start of 81.
I just saw that debate and I was like, is he like 100 years old? Like,
I mean, this in the nicest possible way. My dad turned 81 the other day, and he's like stepped back from running the farm.
yeah, right.
Like, you know,
Let alone the country.
let alone, like the world's greatest democracy, you know?
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll throw my hat in the ring.
Yeah.
I'll throw my hat in the ring.
So if Rock got it together, put the Rock on the Rock, they call it, like get his face on Mount Rushmore. So like we get the Rock on the Rock.
But do you think? I mean, he's so protective of his image and his brand.
But this is it.
There is nothing more divisive than politics.
Well,
People
then
fucking hate
then
politics.
don't run. I'm not saying that he has to run.
Right.
I'm saying that if he thinks that the next, like the ultimate, you know, being people's champion is to be the president, then of course that's going to divide people eventually. But if you're going to run, now is the time to run. It's not 4 years from now. It's not 8 years from now. It's not 12 years from now.
The great part of this is that we can just reuse all that Rock president artwork that
Yeah,
Fosdyke's
that's
already
fine.
done. It will save ourselves a week's worth of Fosdyke fees. Yeah, it's interesting, man. Like because he's definitely going about this image rehab, doing that indie film and, you know, turning heel, but he just can't help himself.
Yeah, and so this is the problem. In politics, bit of
Grandization?
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Will fit in. And you're in the context of Trump and Biden, right? Like it's like, you know, having two, like, the bridesmaids aren't allowed to dress as attractive as the bride on the wedding day, right? Like this is the version of that. Like The Rock is all about like being youthful and energetic. He's everything Trump, you know, pretends to be and projects to be.
Yeah.
So you've got that appeal, but you'd think that he's probably going to be like, you know, more progressive politically to appeal to like the Democratic audience.
I actually don't know, though, how The Rock would go in a debate situation, because I think Look, I think he's good with the pre-prepared, obviously, he'd cut promos and shit like that. But I feel like when I heard him on the Rogan podcast, and we talked about it, and I said he was very dull. Like there was actually none of that charisma on show. Off the cuff, he didn't really seem to have a lot to say. I think Trump, for all his flaws, is very watchable. He's very charismatic when he just goes on a rant and just like spins off into all kinds of like weird lies and fantasies. As horrible as it is, it's very watchable. I don't know that The Rock, if he had to stray off the teleprompter or stray off the talking points, would actually...
But politics and political messaging is actually traditionally more effective when you stick to the talking points and repeat the messages. These are actually... The ingredients
that's a strategy.
Yeah, and that is a proven successful strategy.
Yeah.
Trump has broken the model a little bit, but to be honest, I think most people could beat Trump. The problem is that like they have like a real old guy who may be a good president, but is not a good campaigner anymore. Like
It's not...
I think it is unfair to Joe Biden to expect someone of his age
It's elder
to
abuse.
be both president and run for president. Like, I think Joe Biden could maybe still a really good president, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he could be, because a lot of that might be figurehead, delegating authority, having good people around you, et cetera, et cetera. I can imagine that he would...
Well, the reporting I heard about Biden is that like between the hours of say like 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. he's quite sharp, he's on it, but because of his age, like it takes him a while to get started in the morning and then he gets tired
Mate,
really early.
I get tired early. I'm 50 and I'm tired now.
Well, it's a good thing that like, global conflicts only happen between the hours of 10 and 4 p.m. I mean, it's funny though. It's not funny. Like it's kind of, there's an existential terror to all of this, isn't it? Like the fact that we may be there again, but you just can't help but have a morbid fascination for how it's going to play out, right?
Well, it's amazing that it is playing out how it's playing out, which is the worst possible
possible way. But there's also the worst possible scenario that people were warning us about for
seen
the
coming
last 4 years.
8 years, really. Like, I mean, ever since Trump the first time around, there's been what happens if it happens again.
Yeah.
And we just kind of let it happen again.
Well, there's this idea that I think there is this sort of, it's not a head in the sand, but there's this kind of naivety that it's like, oh, common sense will prevail.
Yeah.
That was just a phase.
That's right. This is the
that
blip.
half the country
But everything will be... everything will return
people
to
want
normal.
just a steady
It'll be
ship.
fine, yeah.
But that doesn't... But when people's wages aren't going up and houses are getting more unaffordable and things are still getting worse, it doesn't matter how steady that figurehead is. In reality, people are still struggling. Of course, you're going to go to that message of like, "Hey, I'll fix everything.
I'm back, baby.
What are your problems? I'll fix it.
Yeah.
If there's a problem, I'll solve it. Oh my god,
Vanilla
Running
Ice
mate.
and Donald Trump.
So The Rock replaces. So if it was Vanilla Ice taking on The Rock,
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because he flips houses, so he's going to flip the White House.
Yeah. But also, as we've discovered in our deep dive in Vanilla Ice, he's actually been very successful.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't he like a world-class jet skier at one point?
Yeah, it's a water skier. I think.
A water skier?
I mean, a world-class jet skier is also maybe that was it.
Yeah, I mean, like, it wouldn't surprise me. But who would have thought that this is the timeline would end up in when it's just this fucking clown show in the most powerful country on earth? And it's kind of, it seems appropriate. Like, I know it's horrible and existential dread and all that, but like, it makes sense that this country that has dominated popular culture and has celebrated celebrities to the point that they have weaponized fame to a point, and it's become this political tool.
Destruction of democracy.
Yeah, based on like fucking like a celebrity profile. It's crazy. It makes sense though that they.
Of course, it makes sense.
They
It's a
created
country
this
that is 100% driven by, well, not 100% driven by, but like
hero worship.
they are the biggest advertisers in the world. They have Hollywood. It's always been about a projected image and brand, having a capitalistic value behind it. And this is the ultimate manifestation of this path that they have been on and what they have celebrated. Yes, like if they weren't our number one military ally, and if they weren't a country that has a heap of nuclear weapons and like all this like major ramifications if they actually collapse, it would be quite interesting to watch, right? You
Yeah,
know, a fall of an empire.
Yeah, if we had
If there were no
if we had a
people
force field
involved
around
or
our
stakes in the
country,
game, it would be, yeah.
So what happens?
I don't know. How would I know?
I don't know. I mean, I just
I'm
feel
just
like,
saying, Rock. I mean, if the Rock wants to run now.
well, what about that idea that, like, you know, every generation
Mm.
assumes that the time they're living in is the worst time, you know,
Yeah.
like whether you're living through the Great Depression or during the Vietnam War or whatever, everyone's like, oh, things are worse and people are hating each other and stuff. Where sort of on metrics, like things are actually, people are living longer and there is more wealth and all that kind of stuff. Like, is it a case of we've lost perspective that things will actually be okay?
Well, it doesn't. We've been trained to be told that facts don't matter, and it's just our opinions that are important. So if it feels like we're not doing well,
Yeah.
then it doesn't matter if we are or we're not.
Well, that existential dread of like climate change and, you know, there seems to be never ending conflicts around the world. Like there's
I mean, those
a
things
few
are
things
all
that
true.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, can we sort of point to that and say, well, no, it is worse now because
I mean, it was
something
bad
that-
then too. It's always been bad, and it continues to be bad. The history of the earth.
well, I mean, is it like, I guess it's kind of like that every day
It's
is
never been good.
Every day
Like,
is,
there's never
every
been
day
a
is
moment
worse
where it
than the
was
day
good.
before. So every day you ask me, it's the worst day of the earth's
Today is
life.
the worst.
But I don't know that it is. I just maybe that's me just clinging to some false hope that it'll shake out in the end, and we think it's terrible, but it won't be as bad as what it's going to be tomorrow.
Well, fair enough.
Like,
I mean, they wouldn't let a convicted felon run for president, would they?
oh my god! I mean, again, what a TV show this is for the aliens watching.
You know what we'll do? We'll just change the law so the president can do anything. What?
Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah. And we're going to have so many like deep fakes and AI that you will not be able to
You'll
disseminate.
never be able to tell information ever again. Whether it's true or not true.
So it's the dark ages.
Yeah.
Is what we're heading into.
Yeah.
A new dark ages.
I mean, it's incredible how we went through this period of, like, you used to have to go to a library to find out information. Suddenly, every bit of information in the entire world was available to you, and now all that's ruined.
Yeah.
We've lived through, people at our age.
The information
have lived
superhighway
through-
and now the information dead end.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
The information, like, roundabout that you can never get off because you're just stuck in a closed loop. Like, it feels like we've gone from having the capacity to know everything to the capacity to not be able to trust any information anymore.
Yeah. And so that's what the conspiracy theorists were on earlier than the rest of us. They don't trust anything that you're being told by the mainstream media. But it's like,
But that was part of the way that the mainstream media was like they were able to tear down the because essentially what's happened is, and it's appropriate that Silicon Valley has done it because their entire business model seems to be pretty much come in, find a pre-established industry, disrupt it in an unsustainable economic model to the point where the original industry is completely destroyed, then finally find out that it isn't sustainable to run your new industry in the way that you've been promising people that you can. So either jack up the fucking price of it or diminish the value of it. Or in most cases, both of those things. And we're left with a worse system than we had in the first place. Like, I was telling you about this video store art exhibition that I went to see in Melbourne at the Immigration Museum, which is on for a couple of years, which I highly recommend to people. It's really fantastic. And so Callum, who's the artist, has recreated a video store, and
the inside of a video store.
so like all original tapes and like
movie
not
posters.
Yeah, the whole thing. Like you walk in there and it just, you're like, like you just like
the
a
late
time,
90s.
It's like a time travel
Yeah.
machine. Like
That's
you really
awesome.
go, and you suddenly just start picking up videos and thinking about what does this mean to me, or like what is this like, and it's incredible. It's like, and you just go through there going, for all the convenience of being able to watch whatever you want whenever you want, I've lost the desire to watch things.
Yes, isn't that funny?
Right?
It's so interesting. It's
Right?
so
Whereas
true.
in that video store, when I had to pick it, and that old idea of like picking out like 7 for a week or like whatever it might be, and then you would watch them or you would
And you'd sit through
prioritize
it,
them.
even
or
if you weren't enjoying
yeah,
it, 'cause
right?
you're like, oh, I'll see this through.
Yeah, and sometimes that would reward you, and sometimes it wouldn't, but also that would be
At least you
good,
watch something
right?
new. Yeah, something new.
yeah.
Yeah.
And even just that idea of it, like your algorithm was you. You know, it wasn't that you like this, therefore you will also like this. Yeah, the algorithm works like you just had an Anzac cookie. You'd probably really like a butternut cookie and like an No, I've had my Anzac cookie now. Like I would like to have something else. Like I'd like a salad now, something completely different to that, right? And I think being in this space,
It's bubble.
this really reminded me like of going, oh, you know what? We always get sold on all the gains we have of all these things, but we don't take much time to think about all the things that we've lost as well with the gains that we
Well,
make.
that's what's going to happen with movies, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what it feels like. I heard Kevin Smith actually being interviewed on a podcast, and so he bought a cinema 3 years ago in Jersey, and he was saying this year the Fall Guy comes out Friday night. They sold 7 tickets. The new Planet of the Apes comes out. They sold 2 tickets. You know, Furiosa comes out like 5 tickets. And it's like, it's unsustainable. Like I can't continue to run this business. And so what they've been pivoting towards, which a lot of cinemas are doing now, is kind of revival. So it's like, oh, well, we've got a 30 mil print of this or that. And he said it's going to be niche now in the same way that theatre still exists, even though that was once the dominant form of entertainment, musical theatre. There will be a segment of the audience who love that experience, but it's not going to be the mainstream. And ticket prices will have to go up in order to match the kind of exclusivity of the event. And I think that to me seems like a okay compromise, because I am someone who does still like going to the movies and stuff. But I do feel sad for someone, you know, like Iona, that, you know, even her viewing habits now of, you know, going on the iPad and watching a 15-minute video on YouTube Kids or whatever. Like that's how she doesn't like watching things on TV. Doesn't like movies. Doesn't like movies at all. Finds them too long and boring, and, you know, just wants to go back to watching her 15-minute thing. But maybe that's just a generational thing that I'll have to deal with, and, you know, they'll create their own form of what the next mainstream entertainment is. Or maybe there won't be no mainstream entertainment. It'll all just be niche, individual consumer.
But also, we talked to, so Mr. Beast was in Australia. How familiar are you with Mr.
Vaguely.
Beast?
I know he's a very successful YouTuber.
He's got nearly 300 million subscribers.
Right.
So that's mass entertainment, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, most TV shows, I mean, the Super Bowl is like 100 million like views. Like
I did see a newspaper article that was like little known, or like, well, you probably don't know who Mr. Beast is. And it's like, well, I mean, I might not, but a lot of people do.
Well, it is one of those classic examples, though, of here is the most famous person in the world, possibly, right? Like, you know, if Mr. Beast ran for president, like Mr. Beast would probably do fine. Like, obviously has a global appeal more than just necessarily an American appeal. Like, and essentially all he does is Mike Whitney's Who Dares Wins, but instead of like giving people $50, he just gives them $50,000 or the
eyesight.
chance to wear, like, I mean, so if you don't know what Mr. Beast does, literally he does like internet stunts. Like basically, some of them he does himself, some of them he does on grand scale where he builds these things and gets people to compete. Yeah, often they're around the idea of like, the last person to get out of this circle, wins $100,000 or blah, blah, blah. They recreated the Squid Game in real life, like big stunts. Did a thing at the Sydney Opera House to win some luxury cars, like. But also there is a charitable arm to building houses for people in Jamaica or things
Has
like that as well.
too, a range of chocolate.
Feastables, they're called. So terrible chocolate.
Are they? I've seen them. I haven't tried it.
Well, apparently the origin story of it is he has Crohn's. So apparently it's a type of chocolate that is like much more friendly to people who have Crohn's, which like Crohn's is a pretty serious thing. So I don't mean to, if that is the real reason, then it's fine. Some other people have suggested that it's cheaper chocolate. So look, it's good people on both sides, is what I'm saying. I'm not sure.
You sound like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Some people are saying.
Some people are saying. But here's what I will say about Feastables is I had some of them and I felt like they gave me Crohn's. Right. So, but Mr. Beast is mass media now. Like that is still, but it's not where we're looking, right? It's not our mass media. It's the language of that next generation. So it's already happening. They're already making their own things, right? They've already found new people to be The Rock or whatever. Part of the reason The Rock is so desperate to hold on to what he has and why he knows he has to parlay it into boards and leadership, and if it's going to be politics or whatever, is that like he was Mr. Beast at some stage. Like, but like Mr. Beast is Mr. Beast now, and there'll be some kid now who's looking at Mr. Beast like, I'm going to be the whatever the next thing is.
Yeah, and which is, I guess, fine. I mean,
of course it is.
I mean,
it's the natural.
You can't hold on to exactly. That's the thing too. Is like, the sooner you accept that you had your time to be the influential generation, and it passes real quick.
And by the way, even that's overstated, is what you realize as you get older. Is like when you're young, like when you're in your 20s, like you think that you're making so much of a difference to and then when you get to your 50s, you realize you're ignoring most things that people in their 20s are doing.
I know.
You know, like when you're in your 20s, you're like, we're doing this and everyone's paying attention.
Flag
right?
on the ground.
And people are like, what's that?
But it's
who's with the what now?
But it's
Mr. Whatsy Beast?
It's also because we're Gen X though, and our defining characteristic was apathy. It's like, so our contribution to global culture was like, I don't know, why try anything? It all sucks.
Yeah, we were right though. We were the right generation. We were the ones who got it.
All right, let's get to the mailbag. Shorter episode.
Yeah, because we've got to get to our second biscuit next week.
We've got a next episode where we're going to get to we're going to crack that pack.
Yeah.
So this is from Terra, who says, not terror, Terra.
Okay, Terra.
Fuck you, TOFOP.
Oh.
3 weeks into my book tour around Australia, binge listening to you two shooting the breeze, and Will snort laughing in my car.
I do snort laugh.
Making me snort laugh because the volume is up pretty loud, so passing trucks don't drown out anything, which I need to replay.
Oh, yeah.
And I get to stunt eating, and I have not watched Furiosa. So fuck you.
Oh.
By the way, I absolutely love your podcast. You're good travelling buddies. Much love, Tez.
Thanks, Tez.
I'm not even really sure what the point of this was. Was it a humble brag about the book tour?
I don't know. Maybe.
We didn't mention
Congratulations. Should have mentioned the details of the book and we could have plugged the book.
I don't know.
Get back to us.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know. I mean, okay. Well done,
Maybe a
Tez.
spoiler situation.
Oh, because we talked about. Well, I'm pretty sure
but we give
But you
people
did give
pretty
some
full
spoiler
and
warnings, I
frank
think.
spoiler warnings.
Yeah, and it's on digital now anyway. You can watch it in the comfort of your own home. Just don't tell George or his wife.
Well, but you're paying.
You have to pay for it. It
You'd
wouldn't
have
be
to
free.
pay for it, surely, at this point.
Streaming, you'd think so.
You'd hope so, right? I mean, this early on, you'd be paying for it still, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
It's
No,
in
definitely.
that window where it's like $25 to rent.
I paid to watch the Fall Guy. Gemini had a rare Friday night where we could watch a movie last week, and so we got the projector out. We're like, let's have like a movie night at home.
Okay, so with the projector, like how does that work?
So it connects to your Wi-Fi, so you can access all your streaming services.
And so have you got like a big is it a?
We don't have a screen. We just project it. We've got a white
but
wall.
is the projector like a big device or is it a little thing that you click on your?
No, it's like, so the projector itself is probably about the like a bit bigger than the Anzac cookie pack.
Yeah.
Very small, about the size of the camera mounts there. That's almost exactly.
But if I had like a wall in my house where I was like, I could project.
Yeah,
something
so you have to set it back probably like maybe 6-7 meters from the wall.
And it just connects to, and you can play anything through that.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I think like a TV, they'll have certain kind of apps which are installed, and you may have to download the other ones. It just works like.
But you play it through your phone or through your TV system.
No, you don't. It's just the unit. The projector is the.
See, I'm the oldest man on earth. I don't understand. Talk me through how it works.
The projector. You plug the projector in
to what?
Into a wall.
Oh, okay.
To get power.
Okay.
Fucking hell.
So electricity.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the concept of PowerPoints, old man?
All right. PowerPoint demonstration. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So you plug it in.
You plug it in.
Yeah, I get that.
It warms up. When it's warmed up.
But how does it know what to shoot on the wall?
It just projects on the wall like a TV. So you basically all your apps and your options are projected onto the wall.
How are they going into the projector?
Because
through
you're connected
Wi-Fi?
to Wi-Fi.
So it's like if a Chromecast.
So I keep turning around. It's like, you're behind me. I'm so sorry.
So hang on.
This is not complicated. Just think about a.
But what are you controlling it with? Your TV?
Remote. You've got a remote.
Or with the projector remote?
A TV. Well, I'm sure you could use your phone, but it comes with a remote.
Does it have like a screen where the...
No, you don't need a screen because the screen's being projected on the wall. Do you understand do you know what a projector is?
I don't know if I do, based on this conversation. Like, no, so the projector has the stuff on the wall, but how are you choosing what to?
Because you're looking at what's being projected on the wall.
and you can choose off
And
the
you've got a
wall.
remote.
Yes.
You can
You've
use
got a
the
little
remote
remote
on the
control.
wall.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Like, this not complicated.
But the wall's not.
Imagine.
But I like with the TV. They're
Imagine
all
it's a
there.
virtual TV, right? Like, imagine it's projecting a
But
TV.
it's virtual. It's not got the TV bit there. Like when I use the
The
remote.
TV is also virtual. There's not actual apps like in front of you. It's being re-projected onto your TV. Just imagine the projection coming from a different direction. It's not coming from behind your TV. It's coming from behind you onto the wall.
You know, I never thought of it like that.
Right. And so it's that easy. All I was going to say is the Fall Guy's not very good.
I think this thing where it turns out I don't know how projection works was heaps better.
Like, it's funny. It should. I imagine, like, when they put that film together and they were like, Ryan Gosling, hot off fucking Barbie, Emily Blunt, you know, she's super popular as well, where it's an action, comedy, romance.
Perfect.
None
They're
of-
both funny.
None of it works. And it's the director of, like, John Wick, or one
Yep.
of the directors of John Wick. And it's all about stuntmen. So
Yep.
But the stunts in it are so, like, not interesting
That's
or
what I
exciting.
heard.
Or
For a movie about stuntmen by someone who's like got a background in doing really cool stunts, that
they're
the
just
stunts
so
don't
uninspired.
they don't look very stunty.
Well, they do this thing at the end.
and they did most of them.
Yeah, they do this gag reel
Yeah.
at the end where they show all the stunts, and it's like, that's heaps better than the fucking movie we just sat through. You should have
Yeah,
just.
I
And,
did hear that.
And they all look fake too. Like, I guess they did. Some,
That's what I was saying. Like they apparently the real stunts
Yeah.
don't look like real stunts.
And I would have thought too that Ryan Gosling is so charming and so likable and so charismatic that he could do anything. But it's like, this is kind of dull.
Oh,
And,
really?
Yeah, it's kind of like his character in The Good Guys, but not as appealing.
Oh,
Like, it's like
Okay.
it's a cheap version of that. It's worth watching just to see how could they fuck this up. Like, you've just got everything going for you, but it's not good. Have you seen it, Amy?
I have. I had another silly experience in the theatres watching it, where we had several middle-aged people sitting behind us who had clearly
It
like
seems
had
to
a
be-
few wines, and then
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
so you know how the Charlie, when he's like has accidentally been spiked and he keeps seeing the unicorn
Oh,
or
that's
horse
the
or
one bit
whatever.
of the film. Yeah.
This woman just kept going, there's the unicorn. Oh. And afterwards I was like, if this woman saw that like 1910s film of the train coming to the station, she's one of the people that would have thought that the train was real. and
Run
was
out of the
gonna hit her.
cinema screaming. Yeah, totally.
all
But
I
anyway,
remember
it's an
about,
okay movie. It was
all
nice
I
to see
remember
the
about it
scenes.
was that idea that because there was that environmental protester who was going to be jailed for like shutting down the Sydney Harbour Bridge for like half an hour, and that the Fall Guy movie shut down the Sydney Harbour Bridge for a day to film, and it sounds like was not worth what for the future
They
of the
should be in
planet.
jail.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the girl protesting against climate change versus the crew of the Fall Guy, which was the better investment in the Sydney Harbour Bridge?
All right, Will, you got shows coming up.
I do. Comedy.com.au is the place to find those. So basically, the only ones that probably, when you're listening to this, would be Hobart at the Odeon. And then I'm doing a little bit of a Queensland tour. So I've got some Queensland dates. So check those out at comedy.com.au.
And if you want to support the show, the best way to do that is patreon.com/everyonerelax. Lots of great bonus content there. We'll be back next week.
When we're going to crack that pack.
I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson.
How long? Not long. Everyone relax.